welcome to my channel, Sana Wellness. Today I'll be talking about a topic that I'm very passionate about. I'll be sharing some information about why play is important during the lifespan. That means during childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. At the end of this video, I'll also share some ideas about how to incorporate play into your life and also some reflections about how you see play in the children that are part of your life. So let's start by talking about what play is. Sadly, in this society, sometimes play is seen as the opposite of work. And this is due partly to the fact that society now values productivity and anything that makes you rich in some way. So in this sense, sometimes this sends the message that play is a waste of time, that play is not productive. And this has all kinds of consequences in many areas of life. For example, sometimes educational systems might minimize the powers of play in children and the power that play has in learning. And sometimes we as adults don't engage in play as much because we think we're not being productive. So I'm here today to invite you to think about how you see play in your life and the life of children. And I want to share with you two things. One, work can be play. If you are doing something that you're passionate about, then you can have that feeling of play when you're working. And then the other thing is that Stuart Brown stated in his book, Play, something very powerful, that if we engage just in little true play during the day, play can be a catalyst. So this means that the benefits of play can be transferred to work and you can actually be more productive. And also this means that you can be in a better mood, in a better attitude, with more optimism to face the challenges that you have in your life. So I think this is really important right now because due to the pandemic, there is a lot of stress and challenges and struggles in the world. So play can be a buffer and can help you face those challenges a little bit better. It is useful to think about the feeling that you have when you play in order to understand what it is. I'm going to tell you some properties of play so you can get in touch with that feeling. Play is fun. We do it because we like it and it makes us feel good. It is spontaneous, it is voluntary, it is non-goal directed, and it has these two properties that I think are very powerful. One is that you lose sense of self or consciousness of self when you engage in play. So that means that you can be authentic. You're not thinking about what other people are thinking about you. You are not thinking about whether you're being silly or smart or awkward. You're just in the moment. And then the other property is that when we engage in play, we are open to chance. And that means that you are open to engaging in new behaviors, ideas, thoughts, and ways of being. Also, when we engage in play, we lose track of time and we don't want to stop doing it because of the feeling that it brings. So I hope these helps you getting in touch with the feeling of play. So now let's move on to talking about the powers of play in childhood. I'll be talking about cognitive development, emotional development, briefly motor development and language. So authors like Piaget suggested in the past that play can foster cognitive development. Norton talked about how children can rehearse things during play and they can assimilate and integrate new cognitive and social skills. And they can also integrate judgments and moral values. So this sounds very fancy, but I want to give you an example so that you can understand these better. One of my children really likes a restaurant that is called the Rainforest Cafe. And this restaurant has lots of animals around, gorillas, elephants, leopards, and it has rainforest sounds like thunderstorms, and he loves going there. If he had a choice, he would go there every day. But this is just not possible. So the way he has dealt with this is that he's created many rainforest cafes around the house. I'm going to list some of the cognitive skills that I've seen in his play. He's used memory because we've been to two rainforest cafes, one in Orlando and one here where we live. So he's created restaurants and he's able to differentiate them, and he tells me, Mom, this is the one from Orlando because this is the gorilla that I saw in a certain place, and this is the one from here because it has the gorilla that has these certain positions. So think about all the memory that he's had to use to make these restaurants. Second, he's used a lot of executive function skills. So this means he's used a lot of planning and organizing when he's organized the animals, and you can see a progress in the way he's used the space creatively. So in these pictures you can see that the restaurants have started to be very linear, and then as he started to make more, the structures are more complex. Now, he's also been able to integrate learning into these play, learning that doesn't have anything to do with gorillas or the Rainforest Cafe. He's been very interested in learning about the skeletal system. It is almost Halloween, so we've been seeing a lot of skeletons and skulls in the stores, and we've been learning about bones. And so there was this particular day that he included 2 skeletons in his restaurant, and I asked, very curious about it, and he said, Mom, these are the skeletons of the gorillas, because did you know that gorillas also have bones? So think about how powerful this is. Now, he's also been able to integrate social skills and value learning into his play. I've been working for a long time on how to change the way I word expectations to my children. So if they're breaking a toy, for example, instead of saying, don't break the toy, I say, it is very important to me that we take care of our things. Or if we're running late to school, for example, instead of saying, hurry up, we're gonna be late, I might say, it is very important to me that we are on time. So there was this particular day that I was picking up toys from the living room, and he comes up and says, Mom, please don't put away the animals because this restaurant is really important to me. So think about that learning and how powerful this is, that he's been able to communicate a want, a need, something that he values. So I hope this example has clarified how play can foster cognitive development. Now let's move on to talking about emotional development and how play is powerful in that area. So play can allow children to express intense emotions that might be very threatening to express in the real life. So for example, the child might have a very intense emotion towards a parent or a sibling, and the play allows them to express that in a safe way. They can also kind of have this discharge of energy and have a sense of relief. I'm going to give you also an example of my professional life. I have this client who came to me because he was having a lot of aggression behaviors at school. He had a really hard time calming down, and he was very irritable. And so in my play therapy practice, I use a sand tray that has sand, and I have a collection of figures that the clients can use to create worlds in the sand and also tell stories. So the stories and worlds that this child started to create were full of superheroes, a lot of aggression, superheroes killing each other, fighting, dying, reviving, bullying each other, saying mean things to each other, and a lot of themes of power and control. And so as the time goes by, the parents told me that the child was not as aggressive anymore. He was being able to calm down faster, and he was doing overall much better at school. So this is just a small example of how children can really express and process a lot of feelings in the play, and that can impact their emotional life intensely. Now, play can foster and promote self-esteem. So, like I said before, one of the properties of play is that you can be authentic in the play. So the children can really explore who they are and become more self-aware of what they can do. So for example, a child might start throwing a ball and playing with the ball and notice that they can throw it really far or with more strength, and as they are trying this game, they are confident. They feel like they can do it and they do it more. Also, play can help children regain a sense of control. And Landreth suggested that this is very important for children's emotional development. So think about a child who goes to school and it is pandemic, and so he has to wear a mask and has to follow all these directions and rules at school. And so during play, he might play out a scenario where he's the teacher giving the directions or the rules, or he might be a police officer, or he might be the parent playing out those pieces, and this can help him feel in control. Also, play can foster basic social skills. So children learn taking turns, negotiating, cooperating, and just overall social skills, learning what is fair, what's not fair. If a child takes away a toy from you, then you have that experience of how that feels. So it is very powerful to develop social skills. Play can also help children process conflicts and confusions and reach solutions for those conflicts. So think about a child whose parents got divorced. He might or she might play a scenario where there is a bride and a groom getting married over and over again, until she reaches a point where the bride and the groom don't get married anymore and they just start being friends. So the play is a vehicle for the child to deal with those emotions and also reach a solution or an acceptance or coming to terms with the experience. Now, I'm going to briefly mention the powers of play in motor development and language, but I'm not going to go in depth into these. So motor development can be something that the child works on even when we are babies. So think about hand-eye movement coordination, how the child just gets to do that and learn that by exploring the world through play. Also, just by kids going to playgrounds or playing outside, they have to use their whole bodies to move. So motor development is fostered in that way. Language development is also something that the children work on during play. I'm going to give you just a brief example of one of my children. So we are a bilingual family. We talk mostly Spanish at home, but my children have started speaking in English because they go to school and they speak English at school. So one of my children, when we play together, he likes this character and he always brings it to me so I can play this character. But since he started speaking English a little bit more, he has identified this one as the one who speaks Spanish and this one as the one who speaks English. So whenever he wants to speak Spanish in his play, he brings me this toy. And then the times that he wants to speak English, which are less right now, he brings me this one. So think about the power of that and how they're able to differentiate both languages. Okay. So now let's move on to talking about the powers of play in adolescence. During adolescence, there are more important developmental tasks. The main ones are individuation, separation, and preparing for adult roles. So this doesn't mean that the adolescent stops playing. This just means that the play is different. So they might not be so interested in playing with toys or playing with certain like Barbies or cars, but they might be interested in playing in a different way. Video games, board games, dancing, band, orchestra, sports, and even just going to parties or doing festivals or celebrations that happens in adults too. This can be a form of play. Debate, math club, other things that adolescents are interested in. Now, play can be powerful with cognitive and social development, just like I said, and motor development. But I just wanted to add other things that are related to adolescence. Play can be very powerful for relationship building, and then it is very helpful for adolescents to reach relaxation and recreation. So an adolescent that goes to school and is having a hard time for whatever reason, if they engage in playful activities after school or even during school, this can really help them reach that state of relaxation to be able to deal with life challenges in a better way. Now, moving on to the powers of play during adulthood. In general, play really brings up your energy. It uplifts us. It renews our sense of optimism. So, like I said before, if you bring that feeling into your work, you can be more productive and you can be happier in life in general. Also, there is research that states that adults who engage in games and playing can be less prone to develop dementia or neurological problems or even heart disease. So now I really wanted to talk about briefly what happens if there is a lack of play. So Stuart Brown studied murderers at Texas prisons, and he came up with very important conclusions. He noticed that the murderers really lacked play when they were children. So he suggested that when we foster playful behavior in humans, these promotes pro-social behavior and non-violent behavior. He also studied youth who were at risk of antisocial behaviors, and he found that their tendency to be violent decreased through play. And then he also suggests that if we experience a lack of play for a long time, then this can lead to depression and a loss of optimism. Now, what can you do to incorporate play into your life? So the first thing is to be able to get in touch with the feeling of play and just go back to your childhood and think about these questions. What were the things and activities that enlightened you when you were a child? What made you happy? What were the things that you played that made you feel that joy? Was that building things, playing with mom and dad, playing outside, playing when you were alone or when you were with other people? Were the things that brought joy to you physical or mental? So get in touch with that feeling and what that looked like when you were a child, and then try to bring that feeling to the now and find activities that can recreate that feeling. What are some things that you can do now that made you feel that way? Now, expose yourself to play. Sometimes when we are watching other people play or even animals, that is kind of contagious. You feel the joy, and it might also give you some ideas on what to do and what experiences enlighten you. I want to also give you permission to be playful and tell yourself, yes, I can be playful and this can be something good for my life. It can also impact my productivity immensely. So think about that too. And then surround yourself with people who can nourish your playful side. I wanted to give you an invitation on the side about whether, like, if you're struggling in a relationship with your partner or with someone important in your life, play can really foster connection and intimacy. So my invitation is that maybe you can think about a way to connect with that person in a playful way. Maybe you can do an activity that you both find playful, or even it can just be a humorous interaction or something, an interaction that is playful. Now, when we think about children and the play, if you are a parent or a professional working with a child, or just a family member that really wants to know more about play, it can be really overwhelming to think about what to do when you're playing with a child. Sometimes we don't know what to say or what to do. So I just want to say that I will be releasing a video soon about basic play skills that you can use with the children in your life. But I also want to invite you to think about how you see play in the children that are part of your life. Are you thinking that it is important? Do you think that it is powerful? And I want to share an example of what happened to me. Last year during the pandemic, I found myself homeschooling and being with my children 24/7. And I got into this place of anxiety. I felt insecure. I didn't know if I was going to be a good teacher for my children. And the way I deal with anxiety is that I plan. So I started just thinking about how I was going to structure their day, and I was worried that they were not going to be learning enough. And then I kind of got in touch with what I know and how I feel about play. And I told myself, I am a play therapist. I know about the powers of play. So then I kind of let go of that anxiety and started to focus on playing with my children and just engaging in play in a meaningful way with them. So I didn't have to worry about planning their days and making sure they were these activities structured for them. And so my invitation for you is that non-structured play can be very magic, and kids can learn a lot about themselves and the world just by engaging in play that they lead and then they control. So again, I'll give you more information about how to engage in that kind of play, but I just wanted to invite you to think about whether you are the kind of person that wants to have all these activities for your kids just to deal with your anxiety. If you're doing it because, yes, you think these benefits your kids and being in those activities is helpful for them, great. But just think about if it's something that comes from your anxiety, or if it comes from feeling expectations from society and wanting to please society, because sometimes society kind of sends that message that we need to overschedule kids with activities, when play and other things that are not structured can also be helpful. So I hope you found this information interesting and helpful, and that I can invite you to think about play in a different way. I'll be including a link below with the book Play from Stuart Brown and other resources that I found helpful when gathering information to talk about these in this video. Thank you for coming to my channel, Sana Wellness. Don't forget to follow me on social media, like this channel, like my video, and subscribe. See you soon for more videos. Bye.